All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Robert Smirking Gun Reviews, and we're back with more Patriot. We're doing Season 2, Episode 4. It's called The Sword in the Hand. And again, full spoilers, if you haven't seen the episode, it is another great episode of the show. The most philosophical, surreal cop show I think I've ever seen. Next to, like, I don't know if you can call Twin Peaks a cop show. I don't really think it is, but... So let's just jump right in. Again, main titles with the accordion saying the sword in the hand is great. We are introduced to Deborah Winger as John's mother, who is the Secretary of Transportation. So it all runs in the family here. She's, for some reason, with Ichabod. I'm not sure how these things happen in this show sometimes. The coincidences and the meetings and everything just being so, like... in the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the wrong time. There's like all these little just brilliant ways that people intersect in this show. And they kind of talk about it in the scene where he's following the guy he's supposed to kill, about talking about side streets and how side streets, you know, if you're forced to occupy or do what you're doing in the side streets, eventually you're going to interconnect with somebody else that has to do the same thing. And I really like that. I think that kind of describes a lot of how things happen in this show. Another thing I'd like to talk about really quickly is how much this show is feeling like a Wes Anderson movie. Or like somebody who's trying to make it look like a Wes Anderson movie. Just as far as like the characters go and how they all kind of talk and are eccentric and have like really great like banter and quick banter. Made me think about that is like when they're trying to sew Dennis's fingers on. And you got like a crowd of like 8 people of all different kinds of character on this show. You've got Ed, you've got the veterinarian, his ex-girlfriend, you've got his kid, you've got Birdbath, you've got Leslie Claret, you got Dennis laying there with his fingers off, and you got gosh, who else is there? I think there's more than that in the room. And I love that Edward's trying not to laugh. And in fact, if you see him later when Dennis is complaining about his fingers, he is still trying not to laugh. Like he finds this whole thing silly. Speaking of Edward, this has a really good beginning of the incident where John and Ed stole their dad's car, his Mustang, to go to the convenience store and try to get beer with the fake beards and everything. That was hilarious. Really, but going into that afterwards, where we get the immediate aftermath of him walking into the convenience store, another convenience store, to get his finger back. This was a really interesting cat and mouse situation. But again, it shows like how brutal John can be when he has to be. And it's brought up by his own father at this meeting that happens, you know, in the future. How he's really visibly still shaken from seeing his son beat a man unconscious, you know, and counting the blows, the 17 hits, you know, and he's right. We have this preconceived notion that it's just, we see so many people getting punched in the face in movies, people just go down. But that's just not how real life is. You know, there's people out there that can knock you out. But people in general, we're pretty hard to just put down. So you punch somebody, you're going to have to punch them quite a bit to just take them out. And seeing his own son have to do this after he woke up from being, passing out, it is something that is affecting him. Seeing what he is causing his son to do, the things that his son is forced to do in his name. And that's also brought up quite a bit in this episode about who's to blame, who's in charge, who's making John this way, who really needs to pay for the crimes that John is committing. And for Agatha, it's John's dad. And she, she's not wrong. John's his own person. He should be responsible for choices that he makes. It's just that his father's influence and the way he sees his father and the way he wants to please his father is so such a huge part of him that he can't say no. He has to continue. At least at this point now, Terry OQuinn, his character, is seeing what these actions and what these things that he asks of his son is doing to him. Not enough yet to make him stop. And I feel like one of the greatest things that this show is doing is things keep getting in John's way, and not just coincidence-wise. It feels like it's just everything in the universe is getting in John's way to get him to stop. That you're doing something, not just like why wouldn't this happen to everybody that's doing something wrong? But there are so many signs and things that happen that are trying to prevent John from getting to his goal, that at some point you would almost think that he'd go, all right, I've seen the signs. I've seen enough signs. I know that I can't keep doing this. But so far, it hasn't happened yet. I really love Deborah Winger and Ichabod's scene in the park where John's explaining that he has to shoot somebody because if he doesn't, the guy that he's trying to kill will think that the time that he was by his car shooting a gun was about them. He has to make what happens next make them ease up, and that they'll make his target vulnerable again. The story about the accordion boys there, though, in this scene where where they decide who to shoot, is great, because that's just, I don't know if that's true. It sounds really like something that would be true. The kidnapped accordion boys of Paris. It sounds almost too bizarre to be made up. Kidnapped Romanian kids who have accordion pimps that make them play in parks for pennies. And immediately, Mom, can I shoot the accordion pimp? Yes, you can. And I'd kind of like to see it. But unfortunately, old Sure Shot, a nice little callback to the main title song, because he called himself Sure Shot before, I think. Because John's not able to see, he accidentally shoots the accordion boy instead of the pimp. Fortunately, it's just a graze. But again, just things that are happening that are saying, John, stop. You just shot a kid. And so his mother hasn't stopped him yet. She wants him to. I have a feeling we're going to get a great scene between her and Terry OQuinn coming up pretty soon. Agatha and Alice's conversation is pretty good because she wants John's dad. She sees that that's the whole thing. This is what this all hinges on, is that if it wasn't for John's dad, then none of this would be happening. And that she wants him. And that's why she took the money. Is because she needs to get John's dad and the money in the same place so that they can get a conspiracy charge against his dad. But Alice is still pretty conflicted about trying to help her, because some of Agatha's actions are kind of bizarre, like leaving her daughter behind. Even though she knows John won't hurt her, I still find it kind of bizarre. And speaking of kind of bizarre and kind of horrifying, we got one of the strangest scenes I've ever seen in my entire fucking life as a purveyor of entertainment, viewer of TV and movies. I have never seen a scene like this in anything ever. And that's a bunch of guys in a bathroom talking about a dick measuring contest. They're all taking a piss. They're talking about dick measuring contest. They're talking about how great they are and how superior they are to the women cops. And in this scene, we get to see every single one of them, these guys' penises. And to be even more specific, they're micropenises. That's a lot of small dicks. And what the fuck? I mean, it's hilarious, but what the actual fuck, guys? I mean, that kind of scarred me a little bit. I have to be honest. But I mean, it's so fitting. The conversation's fitting because they're acting like such big macho men. And these guys have dicks that are about the same size as their fucking belly buttons. So I don't know where to even go from there. Other than the dedicated detective who won't go to the hospital because she needs to let her chief of whatever, whoever the guy is, know about the incident that could be, a step towards causing a disturbance at the summit with the attack at the convenience store. And so, speaking of micropenises, again, that cop ends up on the train where John and Alice and the little girl are. And John still hasn't shot anybody. He really needs to shoot somebody. And the little girl goes up to the cop and tells him that he is very rude. He has bad manners. And he tells her that I won't listen to you until you're 18. When she tells this to John, well, that's good enough for John. There's the asshole that he needs to shoot. And so he proceeds to shoot the cop. The, big stud cop that's so much better than the women folk. And so this puts the kibosh on the worries that these guys had that the gun incident had anything to do with them, and now that target is back open. He will be made more vulnerable again. But with all the opportunities that John has had to do something, I just want to know what's the next thing that's going to get in his way. So that's about it. The last thing is the timer that they have for how long Dennis's fingers can last is a pretty interesting little detail. Poor Dennis. And it's true. If you were in that situation, there is nothing that could distract you short of like taking some hardcore drugs. Like if they had morphined him up or something, that would keep your mind off of the ticking clock that is when will I be able to, pretty soon my fingers aren't going to be viable anymore. How would you, there's no way, unless you were completely doped up on something or somebody just knocked you out, that you wouldn't be able to think about that. You wouldn't be able to take a nap. You wouldn't be able to read a book. So I love that little detail as well. So anyway, that's the sword and the hand. Speaking of that, that's what Agatha says to Alice, that she wants the hand, not the sword, meaning that John's dad is the hand and John is the sword. So this is just a great episode. Again, I want to thank anybody that watches these for watching these and bearing with me as I slowly make my way through this like a fine wine. But if you did like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers 500 subscribers by the end of the year. We've got a couple of weeks left and we've got about 30 some to go. So anyway, this is Robert Smirking Interview saying we will be back with more Patriot. We've also got some other stuff coming, including best of and worst of 2018. I'm not doing top 10 lists, but I am going to talk about the things that I loved about this year and what I hated about this year, and that's going to be coming up very soon. So this is Rob saying have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.